Now, barring any last-minute changes, the Finance Minister, Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam, will present the mid-year review of estimates to Parliament in the fourth week of this month to update Parliament on government performance for the half-year and then outlook. But what about businesses when it comes to their half-year performance? And what about the outlook? Well, it's our special edition on PM Express Business Edition as we focus on the industrial sector of the economy. Industry, we are saying that it's supposed to be the backbone of the economy. As we look at industry and the economy, assessing the half-year performance and the outlook. As we engage with Dr. Charles Otuahene, he is a financial director at Crocodile Market, a manufacturing firm here in Ghana as well. We'll also be engaging Sechuma Kwabwaichi, CEO, Association of Ghana Industries, and also Dr. Humphrey Eyimadake, and also Tony Otinjesi, he is chairman of Tropical Cables. And this is our special edition on PM Express as we focus on industry. How have they been doing? How's the outlook like? The recent Ghana Statistical Service data show that industry is recovering. Is that the true situation on the ground? What about the policy issues as well? And also some level of price controls as well. Should they be worried? And as government prepares to lay its mid-year budget review, what do industries or the industry sector want? Well, all these issues wrapped up on PM Express Business Edition. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to PM Express Business Edition. Whilst government gets ready to present the mid-year budget review or mid-year review of estimates of the 2024 budget, we are starting our own mid-year assessment of the various sectors of the economy, and we are focusing on industry as we do a special edition on industry. Take for those who are in the manufacturing space, the steel, the broader AGI, and some of the captains in this particular space as I engage the finance director of Crocodile Marches and also with the AGI industry as well. Dr. Otuahene is with me here in the studio, and also via Zoom, we'll be picking live with Humphrey Eyimadake, he's president of AGI, and also engaging Dr. Otinjesi. He is the chairman of Tropical Cables and Conductors. But before we even look at the outlook and even do the assessment in the industry, engaging all these captains in the manufacturing space, let me find out from Dr. Otuahene, who's here with me in the studio here, and it's Crocodile Marches and also with AGI as well. And some would say, how is the steel industry doing? I mean, sorry for my ignorance, but I thought Crocodile Marches was gone long ago, but they are still active in business and doing quite well.
Oh, yes, thank you for the opportunity. Yes, Crocodile Market is active. We have been in the business over 55 years now, and we are doing well. We've often getting support from governments, and even quite recently, we had a quota system from GITC, Ghana International Trade Commission, and they have been, supportive. And so, yes, we are doing well, and we are alive and kicking. However, what is worrying us is the importation of the fake machete and substandard machete, basically from China and other, countries. And but how we are doing well, yes, that's it. Yeah.
I mean, how do we deal with this issue? Now, anytime I engage any manufacturing firm and getting down, it looks like it's a huge challenge for them when it comes to the counterfeiting and then the level of imports that are coming in.
Oh, yes. When it comes to counterfeiting, is serious matter in manufacturing environment, especially in our part of the world, Ghana. There are so many counterfeits coming into the country, be it textiles, machete, anything that I can think of, even pharmaceuticals, product, and so on and so forth. Yes, so it is a challenge when it comes to counterfeiting, and it appears the law is all that supportive very well, and people are taking advantage of it. And our legal system, we want to go through in the legal system, how long it's going to take. As a businessman, you don't have tar moving to court every day here and there, and it's not possible also to only allow your lawyer to go to court always, because obviously it's not possible that the lawyer will have in-depth understanding of the business that you do. So the counterfeit, yes, you even arrest somebody selling your product, the same product. You take him or her to court, and at the end of the day, court end up finding the person around 540 Ghana cedis, 840 50 Ghana cedis. So actually, it's not even worth taking somebody to court for counterfeiting your product. Although there are two ways of legal form that you can take, okay, either civil or criminal. But as I said, our legal system can be in court for 8-10 years. Businessman must be in producing, or it must be at court. But however, if the court system was favorable, obviously you go there a year or two, you get judgment, then it will be a deterrent to those who want to enter into such a counterfeit, business.
Let's talk about power situation. I know for the steel industry like yours, you consume a lot of power. Let's look at supply availability of power. Is it a huge challenge?
Well, as you know, now we don't know whether it's doom-saw or doom-CCA, and for the past, say, 4 months, it has been a challenge, and almost every day or any other day, you end up getting about, say, 5, 6, 7, 8, power outage. But for the past 4 weeks, it appears it has improved.
Even for industry,
it has improved. Somewhere, January, February, March, April, thereabouts, you may end up getting, light of about sometimes almost 2 or 3 times in an hour. Okay, but for the past month or so, it has improved. And now we talk about costs, So when we are in Ghana and you are manufacturing somebody in China also manufacturing and importing them to Ghana, it's all likely that you can compete. Even in the neighboring country, within West Africa, you can compete because the power there is cheaper than Ghana. Power somewhere last year up to date, it's gone up by almost 100%. And so therefore become major component of your unit cost. If a power can be translated into a unit cost of your products, okay, that's serious, and that is what is happening.
I'll come to you to the bit about surviving in this space as well as a local producer, because the challenge is that, with all these things that are coming in from outside, how do you survive and all the rest? So I'll come back. But let me get on to Zoom and speak to Dr. Humphrey Ayimdaka. He's also the president of AGIA. And Doc, it's good to connect with you via Zoom for this program. For you, if you look at the first half of the year, how would you describe it? Challenging, interesting? Or listen, we are just staying alive. As you had your friend from Crocodile Matches highlighting some of the concerns in that space.
Yeah, right. Thank you, George, and to my colleague, Dr. Charles. Thank you for holding the fort for industry. And as captured by Doc, being sector-specific and product-specific, he did say the trends are encouraging and improving. Averagely across various sectors, one will say that there's some seeming confidence restoration into the industrial space as a result of the IMF program. And then you can also see the downward trend of inflation. That is also another indicator to demonstrate that there's some seeming confidence being restored gradually. You could also see that the debt restructuring program has a temporal benefit in the short term that is also translated into some seeming confidence. However, if you go further to interrogate other related issues like the power, as indicated by my colleague, there seem to be still a bit of uncertainty in the stability of the power production and supply across board.
But Doc, let me come in there. The bit about the power uncertainty, do I get from you that things have still not improved? Because from the finance director at Crocodile Markets, it appears that compared to the first 4 months of the year, it is a little bit better now.
Yeah, that is not in doubt that for the last 4 months, reasonably, we've seen some stability. But as you do statistical analysis, you seek to do this average over a period so that you can restore confidence fully or reasonably above 60 to 70%. So I've indicated that, yes, the power stability has been reasonable within the last 4 or 5 months. We pray that that stability goes beyond a year, and then the businessman or the industrialist can have significant assurance to say there's full restoration in the reliability of power. The indicators look good, but however, we know the threats that really comes with the power-related issues. We have financial commitments and obligations. The finance minister did mention the restructuring of the PPA, power purchase agreement obligations. Once that is perfected and the pricing is spread over a period, it grants you certainty of the reliability of power supply. Until then, we'll be cautious about the gains that have been attained. So let me repeat it. There have been gains attained, but for industrialists projecting into the future, you need certainty. And then what are the underpinning factors? Those are the threats. Like I mentioned, the restructuring of the PPAs, and then the exchange rate factor stability also, which runs through the petroleum products that come into the market that are used for the thermal generation are also an issue that we need to look at. So yes, there have been some gain in the power space after the recent activities that came up recently. So the exchange rate factor is also an issue that we need to still define a way to bring further confidence into the economy. In the recent times, you know, after the IMF pronunciations and then the debt restructuring from the Eurobond-related negotiations, it has bring some certainty and some confidence. But however, this must be tested into the number of months and years to restore full confidence into the economy.
I'll come to Doc. I mean, having two doctors here with me, I'll come to Doc in studio, and I'll also come back to you again right now. I mean, having the bit about the marginal stability that you have seen in power supply for industries. How has that impacted on your operations as we speak now? So has it impacted on production? Has it impacted on your ability to even bring back those you asked to go home? I'll come to him. And also, let me start with you first, Yimdake, in terms of how that has impacted now on your operation. Because we had in the past that some firms were, you know, scaling down production lines. Some firms were asking others to go home. How has this issue impacted on your operations now?
Fortunately, the interruptions did not stay that long, that per the ones we experienced in the past, that provoked members to lay off. These disruptions were pretty short, and therefore I do not believe most of our members laid off large number of staff. There are other factors that are being part of the general economic difficulties that are policy-related, exchange rate management-related issues, and the value for money and the inflationary rate that until recently had dropped significantly to 22+%. So those other factors, when you analyze the layoff, you wouldn't use only power as the only factor that being the causation factors to this issue. Policy-related issues that led to high taxes and therefore made a number of companies uncompetitive. Also opened the floodgates for smuggling through a number of ports, because the general total cost of production shot up, not only on power, but lending rate, policy rate, the various tax rates were part of the aggregation that led to the high cost of doing business. And as inflation is dropping and as reasonability in the power crisis is also epitomized, and we believe if this is maintained into the incoming year under the IMF, things will take a drastic shape, as stated also by the IMF report recently.
So, Dr. Daka, I get from you that what is happening now, not holding power supply as constant, but the other variables as in the CD, the cost of doing business, that stability has impacted on your operations positively.
That stability, as long as, and I mentioned, when you say positively, that tells that to the extent that the exchange rate can still be maintained throughout this election year, will redefine our position. Because we all know when it's getting to an election year, and secondly, a festive period, the expenditure position of government can change the fundamentals of a number of issues. And that's why we are cautious about the extent of success so attained to date.
Look, I'll bring you in when it comes to the bit about the budget and the expectations and all the rest. But let me bring in another very senior person. This is PM Express. It's our special edition on industry as we do a media assessment. Government in the 24th or 25th might do the mid-year budget review of estimates. And we are doing our own mid-year review when it comes to industry, the sector, as you do a special edition on PM Express Business Edition. Let me bring in Dr. Tinjesi. He's the chairman of Tropical Cables and Conductors as well, to get his thoughts on how would he describe the sector for the first half of this year as somebody who's been in this industry for quite a long time, and what is he looking up to? Doc, thank you so much for your time. For you, how would you describe the first half of 2024?
Thank you, George. It's been quite a while talking to you on your program, and thanks for calling me. For the first half of this year, I would say that it's been mixed. You know, like my colleagues have spoken about, we had problems of power somewhere along the line. Thankfully, they seem to have been resolved now. We hope that they will continue and keep resolved. But the general industry scene is one which needs constant attention and regular review, because no country is sitting down waiting for another country to take away its markets and its employment. You know, so it's, industry is one area where we should actually never be satisfied, and we should always be seeking to improve whatever is happening.
Mr. Tinjesi, I mean, coming back to you, I knew that when you were president of AGA, one of the things that always used to release, and it's still going on, is the business barometer. And one bit that you also capture in this report was about the outlook. I don't know how you would describe the first half, but also the outlook as well for you. Optimistic, cautiously optimistic, or well, we are still more the wait and see?
Cautiously optimistic is obviously because once the IMF program has kicked in, like Humphrey said, and we have some, you see, business requires macro stability. So exchange rates, interest rates, so that we can plan, you know. So if we have the macro stability required, and we are not going to get any major shocks, most of the indices are trending in the right direction. We see interest rates coming down. We see exchange rates relatively unchanged, and hope that it will even improve, you know. Then it means that we can plan for the second half of the year and see how best we should go about putting in proper efforts to make the year a good year.
Doc, let me get your thought. And as you mentioned, I want to dive into the regulation space as well. There are people who are worried about the seeming price regulation or control with cement. And some might say that I started with cement. Very soon I get to machetes and then the crocodile space as well. If I get to cables and all the rest. For you, do you think that it's a good initiative? Do you think that it's bad? And what should be done?
I think, I mean, I don't have any of the inside information on what is happening. But from what I read in the press and from what I hear, I think that we need to look at the cement industry from a certain strategic point of view. For development, you definitely need cement, right? The question is, I've heard the minister say that there's been price gouging, that the increases in price are not realistic, that there are too many and too all that and all that and all that, which is good for us as consumers also, because everybody wants reasonable pricing. The question that I ask myself is, on what basis have we decided that the pricing is excessive? So what I would expect to see is, number one, in comparator countries, in countries around us, what is the price of cement in a common currency like maybe the USD or the euro, so that we can really determine if there is excessive increases in cement pricing. Once we decide whether there is excessive increases in cement pricing or not, then we can look at what actions to take. So as for the increases in the city price, yes, because of exchange rate and all that, I mean, general period of inflation would affect it. But we should look at the real price as it is, and let's determine that. I hope the ministry has done all that background work and determined that maybe cement in Kenya or in Nigeria or in Ivory Coast is $10 per bag or $9 per bag for a certain quality, and that in Ghana it is much more. Then we can say that yes, there is a case for looking at the price of cement. And even then, if we decide that there's price gouging, our next step should be, how do we go about stopping this? Because like I've said, cement is a strategic product now. And whenever you have a strategic product like this, especially a product where virtually we have created what we call an oligopoly, there are just a few producers and there are all of us and we are at their mercy. The capacity in the country, I hear, is twice our demand, so there's even overcapacity. In that case, it means that the price should actually be coming down. I'm not talking of real terms. I'm not talking of city price, because this is a case where when you look at the city price, you are likely to make the wrong decision. So what is the real price? And if we know that it's trying to control the price, the best way of doing it, or there are other methods. If you ask me, I would say that, look, the state has created a monopoly, in cement manufacturing, because we don't allow any cement to come into the country. Today is time, for instance, to say that, okay, we are going to allow cement to come into the country, and check if the cement which comes into the country will be considerably cheaper. We do that in the oil industry. There's something we call import price parity. What is the import price parity for fuel? And that is what we use to determine whether the pricing of fuel is appropriate or not. So I think we should go through those steps, before we get to price control. Price control is difficult. I've also heard on the air that it is not price control, but it's control of pricing, as in a pricing mechanism, a pricing formula, like we do maybe for electricity. Electricity, in fact, if you go to the PURC website, they have all the formula for arriving at the price of electricity. But it is a dangerous path to start going on. And I think that it is time for the manufacturers and the ministry to sit down and let us look at a more market-friendly solution to this problem.
But Doc, right now, interesting submission, but some would say that the airline is currently before Parliament, if I got my calculation right. it could be like 10 days or 11 days, or I stand to be educated, that it soon becomes a law. With all these concerns that you've expressed, would you stand on those who would argue that it should be withdrawn and then more consultation?
Yes, definitely. I think that in the interest of the whole nation, in the sense that nobody wants excessive pricing, at the same time, we don't want to get into a price control regime, and we want more market-friendly solutions. So I would agree that maybe it's time to ask for a ceasefire, withdraw the LI, and let's look at it. But let me also quickly add that sometimes the attitude of our manufacturers themselves too has not been helpful. I mean, if you have the whole Minister of Industry inviting you to meetings, and from what I hear in the press, I mean, the meetings don't come on because pressmen are there and things like that, and so the meeting is called off. I think it's not the best kind of attitude. The pressmen may be there. You can start the meeting, and when you get to the area where you think the press should go out, you request that they should go out. But you don't say that you won't even start the meeting because pressmen are there. You understand me? So I will agree with you. It's time for a ceasefire. Let's put the LI on hold, and then let us sit down, industry, manufacturers, ministry, and even consumers, because really we are all consumers of cement as well. So consumers together who can sit down and then look at what really are the problems. And like I said, we need to determine first if the pricing in Ghana is excessive. And the way to do that is to look at the import parity price and to look at comparative country prices and neighboring country prices. And then from that, once we have that information and all that statistics, all that background work has been done, we can craft a solution.
Doctor, I'll come back to you on the bit about, again, going forward, how do we need to get the policies right to aid in the growth of industry. And this is PM Express Business Edition, our special edition on industry, as to look at the mid-year budget review. What are the concerns of those who are operating in this space? As you heard, Dr. Tinje sees that also Dr. Humphrey Yimdake is current president of AJ, and also Dr. Tuahene is here with Mr. Is the finance director at Crocodile Matches and also is a member of AGS. I mean, I was asking Dr. Humphrey Dake about the past situation, and I want to zoom down to your sector specific, as in, if it's stable now, has it impacted any way on your operations going forward? In terms of, I heard some industries that said that because of the power and other challenges, they were scaling down operations and all the rest. In terms of what has happened over the past 2 months, how has that impacted on your operations, Dr. Tuahene?
Yeah, of course. Thank you very much. The Doomsaw and Doomsday really affected our operations, and you have to operate, say, 24/7, and when the electricity is not there, then you have to use diesel. Using diesel is quite expensive than electricity. So yes, it's impacted negatively, but not to the extent of laying off staff, By obviously it will impact on the unit cost of the products. Now it has stabilized a bit. The impact, yes, of course, it's expensive. The power has now become very, very expensive. As I said, from last year, it appears the price have gone up by 100%, and this impacting negatively on the unit cost of the product. That's the essence of the high inflation. No manufacturer, absorb the cost. It has to transfer onto the final user. So you could see that from June inflation, the producer inflation is about 25% locally. The imported one is about 17%. That's the impact. So when the electricity price goes down, obviously the unit price of item also.
So even though it has stabilized, the cost
is
per
too high.
unit is too high.
It's too high.
And that is feeding into
the
high
yes.
prices. Because I thought that if things were bad then, and some were saying that now that things are stabilized, it should impact on the cost of, I mean, in terms of your produce that you sell. But it appears that it's a reverse.
No, the impact of two folds, as I said. When there's no electricity, you have to rely on diesel to produce. Okay, diesel is quite expensive than electricity. However, another electricity is on the mainstream. Unit cost of electricity is also high. It's now we get 100% or say 95, percent, but the unit cost is high, and I'm saying that's why it's reflecting in the June producer inflation rate around 25%. Okay, so that's the essence. So it's available now, but the unit cost is very, very high.
Let's look at, and not, I mean, still in your industry, since you are from the steel space as well. In terms of people scaling down their businesses and people asking some people even to stay home, what is the situation now as well? I mean, look, holding all the other variables constant and not just the bit about that one as well.
Oh yes, as Dr. Humphrey said, not to the extent of laying off staff. I don't think that we went as far as laying off staff. No, production days reduces, and then as I say, you end up relying on other alternatives, say it diesel, and it causes the unit cost to go high, but not to the extent of laying off. And there may be some few areas of our industry, but not in totality.
What about scaling down as well, in terms of your space as well? Did you want to scale down production? If you had about maybe 5 lines, I could use that carefully. You had to cut down to 4 lines or 3 lines because of all these challenges.
Oh yes, when it comes that way, the unit cost becomes very high, and therefore, if you are to produce, say, from Monday to Friday or from Monday to Sunday, you end up doing about just say, Monday to Friday or Monday to Thursday. So yes, as far as I know, some of them industries scale down slightly to say working instead of 24/7, they end up working say 5 days or even 4 days. Because, when this comes in, it causes the unit cost to go high. And when the unit cost is high, when you produce, you can't sell. So obviously, the scale down aspect comes in. You have to minimize production, not to increase your stock, because you need money to buy stock and sell. So if prices are going up, it affects demand, and the scale down, that's the area that they scale down, but not to extent of laying off staff per se, but just to minimize production, to get the business going.
Doc, Humphrey, Doc, let me bring you on, and the bit about the Ghana Statistical Service data, I mean, suggested that the industry, some sectors have seen some growth, and there were some government officials that looked at that data and said that based on what has happened in industry, indeed, the economy is turning around. To borrow the former Minister of Finance's words, they've turned the corner. I mean, moving away from the hard macro numbers in terms of the industry space, for you, can you say that based on what statistical data has actually provided, indeed things are turning around for industry that over the years has struggled, suffered based on the statistical data that has been put out?
Yes, I did indicate that in my earlier statement that, yes, the similar confidence can be traced to a number of activities, and I did indicate that of the inflation trending downwards. I did indicate the temporary benefit from the debt restructuring as one other activity that will lead to such impact. So therefore, there will be some sectors that will benefit fully from such the benefit from the inflation trending downwards and the debt restructuring, as temporary as it will be. But when you go further to look at aggregate, whereby you average all manner of sectors together, one will ask what is the extent of growth, or what is the extent of growth relatively on 100, even granted that you have a 30-40% growth, it is growth. However, would you say that 30% growth has significant impact to turn around a number of activities and improve on the GDP of the economy? That calls for the disaggregation, as the Ghana statistician did. And you could see in the agriculture space, the inflation rate across the country, and zeroing in on the Accra and also on product. And if you go in step by step, you will see the disaggregated figures captured by the statistician. So there is some reasonability of growth. And that's why I use the word seemingly confidence. And we know the shocks that are around it. And I also indicated some of the threats as we proceed. So that is what the IMF program also assures you. And as we start seeing such growth, we pray and believe that the stable hands of the authorities can keep it firm through the election period into the incoming year. And then we can see the speed of growth and the aggregate impact across all sectors. So there is some growth happening as a result of the IMF interventions and other inflationary rates that are trending downwards. Thank you.
How critical is the CD stabilizing to this recovery that you're looking forward to? Because some are saying that, listen, it's all about the Ghana cedi, since some of you import a lot in terms of raw materials for production as well. Let's look at the cedi stability and also the impact on the sector and your operations as well.
May I also take the opportunity to acknowledge my senior, Dr. Otinjesi. Thanks for joining the special edition. It seems to be an industry edition. George, you're lucky today, right? Okay, on the cedi front, to a large extent, the cedi has become the determinant on the cost of doing business on the macro. And may I just give a typical example? The cedi management at the port of entry, it's so significant, such that every 2 weeks, the port of entry changes the rate at which the exchange rate is applied on imported products. And it is well known that most of our products, either in the intermediary stage or finished stage, largely are imported. And through that adjustment in every 2 weeks, yes, there are cost benefits where government gets revenue by virtue of exchange rate adjustment at the port. And that becomes part of the domestic revenue to the basket of government, and it uses for many other things. However, when you look at the tail end, the effect of such adjustment every 2 weeks triggers an imported inflation. And now even that imported inflation, you could trace it to domestic inflation, which the statistician had just disaggregated to demonstrate that the domestic inflation is even now higher than imported inflation, which goes to tell you that there are various inputs that even go into the domestic production. And when you go on further to disaggregate, you would find out how these are affecting our general lifestyle. So the exchange rate is so significant. Beyond the what I've just described, it affects the cost of fuels. And your fuels are having a direct impact all the way to your farm gate. And it also triggers inflation on your food basket, which also determines your policy rate, your lending rate, your debt management, and you go on further to other macroeconomic issues. So any politicians that is coming to seek our votes and assure industry, you must understand the impact of the exchange rates at the port of entry. Besides your revenue from cocoa and the extractive industries and that of the remittances that come to shore your dollar, you should also do a thorough analysis of this cost element that is coming from the port, forming significant amount of your domestic revenue. How are we managing that? That is why we are of the school of thought that the exchange rate management at the port should be researched again and a significant analysis to give a different direction in the incoming year. When we engage in industry, we are believing that, and we are saying that anybody who comes to the fore and can demonstrate how to manage the stability of the exchange rate, trust me, will be successful into the years. So it is critical in everything that we do now that the exchange rate is driving inflation, driving all manner of factors and affecting the market. That is how bad and how significant the exchange rate is affecting the various value chain activities that we engage in.
Doc, some of your members have complained bitterly about the gyrating rates at the port and even called for a more specialized quotes when it comes to the port of entry and you doing business. Do you think that that is the way to go to deal with the volatility?
I do support that, but let it be backed by research because government also gains whenever there's such adjustment. But what is the trade-off? And I've listed a number of trade-offs as captured earlier on. And when you do a thorough research, you would then come to a clear understanding whether this bi-weekly adjustment aggregately into the future is not doing in with the inflationary rates and the policy rates and then your debt management. Look at how, by virtue of every couple of weeks exchange, your debt position as a country just shoots up. So granted that you can do a thorough research at the port of entry as one of the significant exchange rate factors that happens in our economy, I strongly believe that can be a game changer if we could do a thorough one to add to the revenue inflows as listed from the remittances and export returns. So it is really significant. What should be the case, whether it should be 2 weeks, 3 months, six months, let research determine that so that we can be backed by scientific data in such a significant decision that the country has run, because this has been the case for the country over decades. And that has been the mode of applying the exchange rate. And if you go thoroughly into it, it's one of the bane of our difficulties in managing our markets. So therefore, let's conduct some significant research into that. And I'm excited that Dr. Tony is here, who was once the chair of the GRA. Presumably, he can give us better insight than I can do from this position. Thank you.
Let me bring in Chairman, that is Tropical Cables and Conductors, Doc. I mean, for you, and this is not scientific, but I had a little bird whispered into my ear and told me that there is a major multinational in the extractive space that has put on a major project on hold because of election uncertainty and because of they don't know what is next. I mean, whether that is fair or not, that's another argument altogether. But how has the upcoming election, the fear of fiscal indiscipline and all the rest, also impacted on members like yours and even industries like yours, because the fear is that government could be forced to spend more and all the rest, and its impact on the fiscal situation and the economy. For you, is it a concern for you as a major player in this space, or listen, government has to show us, and therefore let's see whether they'll stick to their word?
It's a great concern, George. I mean, for a nation which has had how many 30 years or something of back and forth elections, we would expect that by this time, elections we should be familiar with elections. But it looks like for every election, for some reason, the temperature in the nation gets so high that it's not only foreign investors who are concerned. Even local businesses get concerned, and everybody is worrying, and is it going to be peaceful, and will there be whatever is going to happen? Is it, what is it about elections that despite all our experience, we cannot approach it in a somber and calm and peaceful manner? Let everybody have his say. Let the voters decide, and let's move on as a nation. You know, and maybe even your colleagues in the press are also to blame, because if you live in a nation where every morning when you turn on the radio, it is only or mainly, let me be more accurate, mainly the politics and the political issues and who has gone to say what. And I mean, that is the only thing you hear when you get up in the morning. Are you surprised that foreign investors will say, hey, let's wait for the election to get over? I mean, we create our own environment, and we forget that if we destroy the environment, we destroy our whole nation. So it is important that we learn to bring down the temperature in the nation when it is time for elections. And we must do that consciously. Our media, our politicians, they are the main what do you call it, actors in this space. And it is important that, I mean, there should be temperate language. It is a matter of policies, and it's a matter of, I mean, let's stop the in temperate language and the do or die affair, as if beyond the politics, we don't have a nation to build together. So I am really concerned. And I think every business is concerned about the political temperature when we are getting to election.
Doc,
and
what
this
about
year,
yep.
no, it's no better.
Doc, what about the bit about fiscal discipline and again how that could also impact on your business? That is the assurance enough? We want to see the actions to confirm that in the round up to the election after July, after September, we will see that full commitment to fiscal discipline.
I think that the lessons that this nation, and I mean nation as in a country, not government, not whoever is in power, the lessons that this nation has learned in this going back to an IMF program and all, it's all part of that temperature raising. If we realize that politics is not a matter of life or death, you know, and so it has to be won at all costs, even at the cost of excess expenditure and all that, and which is what happens every time we are getting to election. So that real lesson to learn is that we should be sober and somber and calculated in our economic management, whether it is election year or not. So yes, definitely, we are worried about the fiscal situation. We hope that the IMF, with the fiscal responsibility law and all that, and all the promises being made about how it will be kept and how it will be strengthened and all. I mean, these are, and we should start now. Make those promises. Make sure we keep to them, and then make sure that we don't jeopardize the economy. That is what is really the problem.
Doc, I'll come back to you on the bit about threats, but let me come to Dr. Tuahini in studio here, Finance Director at Crocodile Marches. For you as well, looking forward in the outlook, what do you still see as the biggest threats, especially to your sector when it comes to steel, cutlass, and all those things that you are very heavy in?
Thank you very much. Obviously, you know, look at the inflation now, you know.
And it's still high.
Yeah, inflation is still high, 22%. The neighboring country, so some of them are doing 5-3%. Okay, and you are here, you are doing 22%.
It's a major concern for you.
It's a major concern, and also the CD depreciation. You know, it is increasing at a decreasing rate. Although, if you compare to about 2 years ago, where it was increasing at an increasing rate. Yeah. Now it's increasing at a decreasing rate. But look at it, you know, it was around 4 CDs, 20 pesos thereabout in 2016, and now it's around 15, 16. Okay, from 2000, that's 2007, July, when the city, you know, redomination, the city was just 70 pesos to a dollar. 17 years down the line, the city has depreciated by over 2,000%. Okay, so it's very difficult operating in this, you know, environment.
You do quite imports in terms of the raw materials, or you still source locally in terms of what is the situation like?
You know, there's lack of value chain and supply chain proposition in a country. So when you are manufacturing, you end up importing your basic raw,
source some of these things locally to deal with the FX challenge?
They are not available. Okay,
Aloex and all the other, and
they are not available. You see, so non-availability also creates this kind of CD depreciation problem. That's why we are talking about the government should assist in the value chain and supply chain proposition. Okay, so when I'm producing, I have somebody in the extractive sector, somebody in the extractive sector, somebody in the processing sector who will be adding value to the raw material to a certain stage. Then they reach, then become somebody. Okay, Apple become my input. But in this case, in Ghana, when we're in manufacturing sector, virtually all your inputs are imported. Okay,
but that is strange. I thought that we had made certain progress in trying to get some of these things localized.
No, so that's where you see the CD depreciation. The CD depreciation, no, don't let anybody come and tell you that I'm coming to solve it. Nobody can solve it. The solution is one.
Why can't nobody solve it?
The solution is one. Everybody knows it. Production, production, production. If you don't produce in Ghana, if you don't convert our agricultural produce, the minerals and others here in Ghana, and we send everything raw outside Ghana, then they process it, add value, then we bring them to become our input here in Ghana, CD problem will never be solved. Not until you see our feeder roads are being constructed, more people are going into farming, and when you go into farming, the post-harvest losses, you have industry to buy, your farm produce, and the industry also process it here, and there's a company here to buy that processed product. CD problem will never solve. Don't let anybody come and deceive you that is going to solve it. If somebody come, you tell you that, oh, I am going to ensure that cocoa, gold, all those things are processed here, okay? Then obviously we are in a way of solving the CD depreciation problem. Not until we see that, forget it.
Government is going to, all other things being equal, do a presentation of the mid-year budget review. They've started some engagements already. Again, I will restrict you to your steel and metal space as well. If you have an opportunity to engage government or to the industry input, what would be your submission to the finance minister to deal with the concerns in your space?
Well, I think that's what I've said already. The short-term measures that we usually do will not solve our problem. We should begin to talk about instituting a long strategic plan in place so that gradually will be achieved. Maybe within 5-10 years, you should ensure that we are going to process our raw material here. Okay, so that the manufacturing company here will also get it as their input to process. Okay, with the short-term measure, we have been proposing to government always. Every year, AGI, we send our input to government. Sometimes I give more than 10 inputs. Okay, it's about implementation. So not until we put our faith down to implement whatever we put in the budget, it becomes difficult. 1D, 1F is a good proposition. Okay, it started well. There are some ongoing, but if there have been further push on 1D, 1F, where they will process the agri-produce, okay, add value to it, and another company sitting somewhere in Ghana will also go and buy and add value until we get the final product. If all this not have been implemented seriously, we shouldn't be where we are now. So for me, yes, with the media budget, if it's media, then it's short-term, obviously. Then you have to be looking at the CD depreciation because it's too high. Now, you see almost every other day, you see that it's going up by 0.1%, 0.2%, and so on and so forth. And that you find difficult, difficult planning. They should also look at the cost of the electricity is too high now. If you compare them, neighboring country, Ghana cost of electricity is very, very high. They should look at the roads. The roads is another headache now. You see, for instance, Tema, from Vaco Roundabout to Tor, you can spend almost sometimes 1 hour, 30 minutes. A journey that's supposed to take just five minutes. If you are not ready, please, Minister of Finance, add to your, budget. Come and just level for us, so that we can move on with our business. So because of that, you have goods at the port. You want truck to bring it to you. They don't want to come. And if they want to come, they want to charge you high because from port to heavy industrial area, within 30 minutes, it's just a 30-minute journey. Now from Vaku roundabout to Tor will take almost 1.5 hours. Okay, so if you're supposed to charge you 2 cedis, you charge you 5 cedis. And this adding up to the cost.
Let's come to the...
There's no street lights. I mean, virtually all the street lights are down. So we have workers who are going to work 24/7. So we want the street light to be on within this media budget. We want to hear that the roads are terrible these days. If we want to see that there's something going into the budget.
I will come back to you on the bit about the counterfeiting. And the argument is that if we are a free market, why are industries like yours, when it comes to the steel and the metal space, complaining? And to get your thought on that, let me come to Dr. Humphrey Yimdaka as well. Mid-year budget review, it appears the government might be heavy on some policy issues as well. I mean, what do you want?
We want policy consistency. The policy should be consistent with the general developmental agenda, which might be a number of years ahead, 5, 10 years. But if that policy consistency could run that period of the developmental agenda, then that particular product line or sector will see a significant change. I bring this up because currently we are where the GIPC seeks to review a number of its laws. And looking through the number of reforms or amendments they've tabled to Parliament, it runs counter to some of the intentions of the current government. And therefore, that should be looked at before the next government takes up. So this is part of the policy consistency. Another example is the cement factory-related development, consultation to make sure the policy intent combines and improves on the reforms that you seek to bring in, and that comes with consultation. I will also seek to see the IMF document indicated the structural reforms advancing. It does suggest that the structural reforms are not considerably at the speed that we need to bring about this change and transformation. An example is the agriculture space. And the clear intentions of this government were laudable, but the speed of reforms proud to the IMF, and now even within the IMF, can be traced to a number of causation factors, including the funding, which you can also trace to your debt position. So the structural reforms need to be speed up, especially commercial farming in the large scale. And then we're excited to see government bringing an initiative to aggregate over 200,000 hectares of land. So if government has this land in its hands, how do we speed up in the structural transformation regarding agriculture to aid us reverse the exchange rates, the difficulties that are all captured in there? You could then say that how do you also tie the value chain and the supply chain, playing in the local content policy deliberately? We keep saying that over the period, like Malaysia, like Singapore, who were consistent in their policy, 10, 20 years down the line, they've seen the fruit. A number of inconsistency then draws us back. Political intervention, reforms, and then abandoning of projects are all part of these issues. We pray that we can see this. And finally, the fiscal responsibility and rationalization in this last half of the year can make a lot of difference in the IMF program or derail us or still stay focused. So the fiscal responsibility and rationalization, it's critical to make sure that we end the year very well on the IMF program, and then we can look into the incoming year with bold decisions that could lead to the transformation we're expecting. And then finally, an SME program. And I believe the government seeks to do that. We see a number of adverts. We believe that the freebies and the interventions in training are good. But how do we convert this to a guarantee scheme such that this guarantee scheme could aid the SMEs in what we call the capital formation. Most of our SMEs or businesses in Ghana are weak in capital formation. We need to look at the pension law. How do you reform the pension law and bring flexibility for the purpose of capital formation? How do you use land, which is in abundance? How do you create a law to aid in capital formation that will aid us to speed up in our growth path? Thank you.
Mr. Dake, I wanted to ask you this, and then from you being the president of AGI, I mean, the issue about the cement and the LI has exposed something about what is the level of engagement between AGI and government to deal with some of these issues.
Yes, seriously, I think we have a letter with the Minister of Trade to engage specifically on the cement-related matters. Tomorrow, per se, I know the cement factories have also been invited to Parliament because the document has been laid. Yes, we are engaging the minister. We need to put time to it, but the minister has other responsibilities, but that of the cement. So catching him sometimes can be difficult because he has a lot of portfolios to manage. But AGI is on this subject matter, and the minister has admitted that we should meet him very soon with our members and then engage further. Thank you.
And that could lead to the proposals by Dr. Otinjesi as the rest that maybe airdrop could help, or because as the time takes, the LI is also running and it could soon become a law.
Well, I stand on his shoulders. He is a senior citizen in the space. He sees further than I can see. So we pray the prophecy he's just outlined may be the case, but we'll go in and engage accordingly per our mandate. Thank you.
Let me bring in Doc Otinjesi as we try and wrap up on this discussion. For you, going forward, what do you think needs to be done on the policy side to sustain and aid in the growth of industry? Because some would argue that that is what we need if you want this economy to develop.
First, as far as manufacturing industry is concerned, our policy, manufacturing policy, is inadequate. The current manufacturing policy is inadequate. It needs review. It has to be made to with our objectives in mind. And actually, the policy and the working documents arising out of it all need to be put in place so that we can have a program towards achieving the kind of manufacturing turnaround and expansion that we want in this economy.
And that could also, your final thought going forward, outlook-wise, anything from you, Dr. Otinjesi?
I think that if we are sober and we keep the rest of the year under wraps and don't do any of the things we all know we shouldn't do, excess expenditure, spending too much in an election year, and all those things, I think that the economy is on the up. The trends are looking up. It's positive. It's good. But we need the discipline in order to make sure that those trends continue.
Dr. Amfiayim Dake, your final thoughts in terms of what you think needs to be done to ensure that this recovery that we are seeing is sustained, Doc?
The leadership should stay focused. They should stay focused, and we believe a number of issues that we've captured would support them in this course. And they should stay focused and be responsible in terms of the expenditure basket. It is critical in this last 6 months of the existing government reign. We pray that it goes according to plan so that together we can enter the new year peacefully. Thank you.
Doc, I asked a question about the concerns that those in the steel iron space have complained about counterfeiting and influx. I mean, some are saying that it's a free market. I mean, why should there be a similar protectionism for firms like all those who are operating in your space?
Okay, right. Well, it's a free market. Yes, thank you, George. It's a free market, but counterfeiting is a free market. Counterfeiting is illegal. Okay, so sometimes people confuse between counterfeiting and substandard product. Okay, so with this counterfeiting is illegal, and therefore you have right to go to wherever you want to go to bring whatever product you want to bring. If you want to bring anything, you can go and bring it, but don't go and bring what somebody is doing. And the counterfeiting in Ghana is so serious that they copy everything that you have, your name, address, location.
Where is it coming from?
Basically, it's import products.
The authorities and those of the ports?
Largely come from China, and it passed through our ports. You know, when you get to the port, there are so many institutions there.
What are they doing? I mean, that's the concern. What are they doing? Allowing them to come through?
We wonder.
Are you not working jointly with them to clamp down?
We wonder how they manage to get through port and get into our markets, because it's imported product. They are not produced in the country. And yes, other institutions want to put some measures in place to help fight the counterfeiting, but I think government should come on board. Customs, Ghana Standard Authority, and Food and Drug, all of them should come on board to help fight it. And again, the data, import data should be available. Okay, now if you want data, you can't farm it. So if import data are available, even at the customs, if I go there and I can get import data, I can do my own analysis and see those who are bringing the counterfeiting. Then now I can report back to customs. So with that, in that basis, we can help them. So I'm pleading with them that they should make data available. When we get the data, we can analyze ourselves and see those who are bringing substandard product and counterfeiting. And now we get them arrested. But here's the case: even getting a data is a problem. And again, we are also urging those at the port authority, the standard board is there, narcotic. They are all there. Customs, they are all there. They should be assisting us, fighting this counterfeiting, yes. Sir.
Dr. Charles Etwahini is Finance Director, Crocodile Matches, and also Dr. Humphrey Ayimdake is the President of AG, and also, let me talk about, that is Mr. Dr. Tinjesi, is Chairman of Tropical Cables. This has been our special edition on PM Express, and I'll say thank you, distinguished gentlemen, for joining me on PM Express as we focus on the industry sector, the economy, and as we assess how they have fared for the year and looking forward to next year. We also focus on other sectors as you look at how all these sectors have fared for this year. This has been PM Express Business Edition. Thank you so much, Dr. Humphrey Ayimdake, Dr. Tinjesi, and also Dr. Charles Etwahini, Finance Director, Crocodile Matches. Be your show and have a great day. This has been PM Express.